सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Freedom in relationship. That's the topic of discussion this evening. Freedom in relationship. First of all, we should know that every relationship is very valuable. It is said that about 80% of our happiness comes from relationship. Other 20% comes from the car, from the home, from the videos, from other sources of entertainment. But understand, 80% of our happiness comes from relationship or can come from relationship. When is the relationship a source of happiness? When there is freedom. So, like everything else in the creation, a given thing can be a blessing or it can be a curse, either way. A relationship in which is healthy. A healthy relationship is a great blessing. Again, only human beings enjoy this privilege of relationship. Other creatures relate when the child is born, perhaps the mother relates to a child up to a certain point. When the child becomes adult, then there is no relationship there. But human being is privileged to have variety of relationships. Not only relationship between spouses, between parents and children, between siblings, between friends, between colleagues, with neighbors, with the boss, with subordinate, with clients, with suppliers, with strangers. Almost every moment we are related to somebody or something. From the time that we wake up and the time that we go to sleep, we are related. Even if there is nobody around me, still in the mind I am always thinking of something or somebody, and therefore even if there may not be any evident person or entity to relate to, in my mind I relate to people anyway. As the Swami says, when this man travels in the train, he buys a ticket, all right. 10 fellows travel without ticket with him. Because in his mind he has mother-in-law, he has father-in-law, brother-in-law, this law, and that is how these people all travel. Because we are thinking of people. We think of spouse, even though spouse may not be present right now. Think of our friends, think of other people. And that thought gives me happiness provided there is a healthy relationship there. And that very thought also can become a source of sorrow if the relationship is not healthy. So we remember both the kinds of people. People with whom we have good relationship, them also we remember. And we also remember automatically people with whom we do not have good relationship. And so, ultimately our thoughts are based on how we relate to the world. Therefore, relationship is unavoidable. Number one, we cannot avoid relating to the world. And a relationship, if it is healthy, it is a great source of joy. And therefore, we should know that relationships are a great wealth that we have. Our wealth is not only in terms of money and other possessions, but this relationship also is a great wealth and we should treat it accordingly. There are some people who do not think even for a moment to cut off the relationship. They don't know what actually they are losing by cutting off a relationship. I'm not saying that you have to hold on to something even though you cannot, but then cutting off a relationship should be the very last alternative. And we should try to make every relationship as healthy as possible. So how do you measure the health in the relationship? The extent to which the two persons related to each other feel free. When do I feel free? When I feel secure. When I feel safe. When do we feel free with a certain person? When with other person we feel we are safe, we are secure, we are not being judged, we are not being rejected, we are being accepted. I find it very easy to relate to people who are kind to me, who are accepting of me. And I know that I have both virtues as well as shortcomings or limitations. In Sanskrit, guna and dosha. Guna means virtues, dosha means defects or limitations or shortcomings. Each one of us is a combination of both virtue as well as limitations. Anything that is created is imperfect. We are all imperfect in that sense. We are not perfect. We can be perfect, and that's our goal. To become perfect is our goal. But perfect in what sense? Not in the sense that I can accomplish any task, that I can do anything. Not in that sense perfection. That nobody can have. Except God, I think nobody can assure that we will be successful all the time. So I'm not saying that we can become perfect in terms of being always successful. But we can become perfect in terms of being a good human being. Understand that basically each one of us is a very good, kind, loving human being. Each one is a beautiful person. In the core, where each one of us is a beautiful, good, kind, loving person. That's what we are. And the extent to which that goodness of mind, that beauty of mind, that wholeness of mind, the extent to which it becomes evident in my relationship, to that extent I have grown. So here, what we need to do is to bring into functioning in every relationship the inherent goodness or kindness that we have. Understand that we have a plenty of wealth of goodness within ourselves. We have plenty of wealth of kindness and love within ourselves. There is no lack of that. Even though very often I feel that my love is getting stifled, I am not able to express my love. Somehow I am not able to become kind under certain conditions. I get angry, I get jealous, I get intolerant. These things happen to me. And therefore, I am not able to bring to bear the kindness and the love in my relationship, even though they are there. That means that even though love and kindness is our nature, there are some inhibiting factors, there are some factors that obstruct the manifestation of that. Just as the sun is shining in the sky, but sun may be sometimes covered by the clouds, in which case the light of the sun is not manifest. Light of the sun is there. It is not that it does not exist, it is there. It is not evident. It is not manifest, not evident. And all we need to do is to remove those clouds for the light to become manifest. Similarly, kindness or goodness or love is our inherent nature. We don't have to acquire it from somewhere else. We are a treasure of those things. But there are certain factors which stifle the manifestation of that, which obstruct the manifestation of that. Like there are some clouds which obstruct the shining of my love and kindness, which is my nature. And therefore, the agenda in our life. What is the purpose of our life? Purpose of life is to be happy, to be successful. What is the true definition of success? Somebody has said, success is not the key to happiness. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is key to success. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is key to success. So when am I a successful person? When I'm a happy person, I'm a successful person. And so understand that when we say that we are seeking to be successful, it simply means that we are seeking to be happy. In the words of our Swamiji, each one of us is seeking to be a pleased self. I want to be pleased. I want to be pleased with my own self. I am pleased with myself when I find myself a kind person. When am I pleased with myself? What do I need to be pleased with myself? When I see myself a kind person, I am happy with myself. When I see myself a loving person, I am happy with myself. When I see myself a good person, I am happy with myself. So secret of life is to be happy, or the purpose of life is to be happy with our own selves, because the happiness again is our own nature. Just as kindness or love is our nature, happiness also is our inherent nature, and all we need to do is to bring it to manifestation. How do we do that? As I said, when am I happy? I cannot be happy when I am an angry person. In fact, I do not like myself an angry person. I don't like an angry eye. I don't like a cruel eye. I don't like a jealous eye. Although very often I find myself jealous, that's one thing. Often I find myself cruel or angry, that's a different matter. But I don't like that. And therefore, as I always say, when Swamiji, please pose for a picture. How do I pose? A smiling Swami. Never an angry Swami. I never pose myself like an angry person. Even in picture also I do not like to see myself angry, let alone my own self. In my picture also I like to see myself a smiling or a kind person, not a cruel person. Is it not so? And therefore, if the purpose of life is being successful, and if success means happiness or being pleased with myself, then we have to live the life in such a manner that that inherent nature of myself becomes manifest at every situation. You may question, Swamiji, you keep on repeating pleased self, that sounds selfish. Should I be only pleased with myself? Is that what you mean by success? Or should I please with everybody? But the point is, if I am pleased with myself, I'll be automatically pleased with everybody else. I do not have to do anything separate. I do not have to do anything separate to be pleased with others other than being pleased with myself. Usually, I have difficulty with others when I have difficulty with myself. When I find myself not acceptable in my own perception. They said, I do not like to see a sad self. I do not like to see myself a sad person, an angry person, a depressed person, a frustrated person, a disappointed person. I don't like to see myself that. Whenever I see myself that, I become unhappy with my own self. And when I do not feel good about myself, I have difficulty in feeling good about the world around me. Sometimes we become cranky, Sometimes, with children, of course, we use this term cranky. Whatever you give, it throws away. Doesn't want anything, doesn't like anything. There's some problem the child has with itself. Maybe some stomach ache is there, some headache is there, some problem is there inside, and therefore the child becomes cranky. Have you observed that we also become cranky sometimes? Sometimes people try to please us. Sometimes people try to do things so that we are happy. We say, I don't want. Because I am displeased with myself. Therefore, understand that being pleased with myself is the most important thing in me. Most important thing for me. And that's the goal of life. You call it happiness, call it success, call it being pleased with myself. That is really the goal of life. And how should we live our life? We should live our life in such a manner that our life becomes a process of progressively discovering a pleased self. A being pleased self is the goal of life, then life should become a process of progressively discovering a pleased self. And what is life? Life is relationships. What is human life? Nothing but relationships. Is it not so? As I said, we are related to somebody or something at all the times. Either at the physical level or at the mental level, we are always related. And every relationship becomes an opportunity for us to invoke that pleased person. Every interaction, I should say, every interaction can become an occasion of growing. I can grow into a more mature person. I can grow into a more kind, loving or good person. Thus, every occasion can become an opportunity to grow. And that is what we call spiritual growth. There is one kind of growth which is the material growth, which is measured by what I have, what I have accumulated. What I have is a measure of the material growth, which also we need in our life. We do need wealth, we do need comfort, we do need some name and fame. I don't say that we don't need them. We need those things also, in as much as they are required to take care of myself and my responsibilities. There is family, there is responsibility of family, so you require money, you require also certain amount of influence and things like that. So, we are not saying that we do not require those material things. We do require them. In a required measure, there is no end to how much you can have. But they are meant to fulfill my basic responsibilities. The material wealth, in terms of money, etc., is a means of fulfilling my needs in terms of my responsibilities. But the spiritual wealth is required in terms for fulfilling my needs in terms of my own success. Therefore, while we are in the process of accumulating material wealth, we should also be simultaneously accumulating spiritual wealth. And nothing special has to be done for that purpose. Swamiji, for that spiritual wealth, should we become renunciates? No, please don't. If everybody becomes renunciates, then who will give us food? Therefore, you should remain what you are. The world cannot afford all renunciates. Nobody paying taxes. What will you do? Everybody cannot be not for profit, and therefore we require people for profit also who pay taxes. But no, it is not necessary to become a renunciate in terms of lifestyle. In fact, being a householder or being a person who is living this day-to-day life in the world and struggling and interacting is a very suitable way of life for our growth. If you want to sharpen your knife, you need a rough grinding stone. A knife cannot be sharpened with a smooth grinding stone. You need a little bit of rough grinding stone, correct? Similarly, the world is a rough grinding stone, and if you withdraw from the world, then the opportunity of sharpening the knife is not there. But if you are with the world is a rough grinding stone, and therefore every moment there is an opportunity of sharpening your knife. Not for hurting somebody. What is this knife? This knife is your own mind. What is meant by sharpening is making the mind more mature. Thus, every interaction can become an occasion for self-growth. And what is self-growth? Self-growth is measured in terms of how, if I want to make a balance sheet of my life or of the last year, my balance sheet. One balance sheet, of course, the bottom line. That's the familiar balance sheet. Other balance sheet is, I can ask myself, how much more kind I am from what I was a year before? How much more giving I am as compared to what I was last year? How much more kind I am? How much more giving I am? How much more compassionate I am? How much more, good I am? That will be good when we are celebrating birthday. That will be a good way of evaluating how you spent the last year. Otherwise, birthday, I don't know why people celebrate. Means you are 1 year older, you are 1 year closer to your death. How do people celebrate birthday? I guess celebrating the fact that we were born, okay, but now we are proceeding towards death. And there is one less year now for whatever we have to accomplish in our life. And we have to accomplish something. And hopefully in this life only. All the Hindus believe the next rebirth, and so some people have a tendency to postpone, we'll see in the future birth. No, don't do that. We do not know what the future birth will be. Whether we will be born as a human being or not, there is no guarantee. And so when will this opportunity come, we do not know. So when we have the human birth, we must make the best of it. And the only purpose of human birth is spiritual growth, really. But that's where the real success is. How much spiritual wealth I've accumulated, how much kindness I've accumulated, how much goodness I've accumulated, how much compassion I've accumulated, how much love I've accumulated. That is the basis of, if you want to measure your success, let that be the criterion for measuring success. Because that is what makes me happy. That's what creates in me a sense of self-worth. I have to become worthy in my own perception. Because I'm very critical of myself. As a human being, I have an intellect which is a judging intellect. It is nature of intellect to judge. And the first one I am judging is my own self. I always have a self-judgment. And it's not a very encouraging self-judgment also. because my expectations from myself are very high. And more often than not, I do not measure up to my own expectation of myself. Therefore, I do not have a high self-esteem. I do not have also a good perception or a healthy perception of myself. I am a person with variety of complexes. So freedom in relationship. That the relationship can become an occasion for what really I am seeking in my life is inner freedom. Freedom from what is stifling my goodness, stifling my kindness. Cruelty is stifling my kindness. Anger is stifling my compassion. So these negative tendencies also unfortunately we have. And we have to progressively overcome them to bring to manifestation our true goodness. And the relationship can become an interaction, can become an occasion for invoking that goodness from myself. Because a relationship is a demanding relationship. Particularly relating to other human beings is not easy. That's why people have pets. People have dogs and cats. Why do they have them? One of the important reasons why it is so easy to relate to pet is because pet is non-demanding. All it requires is food. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam. Ahar means getting food when you are hungry. Nidra is sleep when you are tired. Bhaya, protection from fear. And maithunam, sense gratification. If you provide this, of course maithunam you don't even provide, I think. These pets are all treated in such a way that they no more have any kind of urge for any physical, gratification. But anyway, they still have sense gratification. Their eyes are there, the ears are there, the palates are there. So if you provide a pet these minimum needs, it is happy. A pet does not have a complex. Other than human being, nobody has any complexes that I am a failure, that I am good, I am no good, I am greater than somebody else, I am inferior to somebody else. This inferiority complex, superiority complex, a complex about successful, failure, etc., or self non-acceptance is not there in them. Therefore, they are non-demanding. A pet is non-demanding, and therefore a pet is able to love without any condition. Once the basic relationship is established with a pet, I think in the beginning you need to take your dog to an obedience school, isn't it? Make him obedient. So the dog does what I want it to do. I throw a ball, the dog should bring it back. Throw this side, will bring it back. Dog has become obedient. I give him some biscuits, it jumps up and down, wags its tail and is happy. What its needs are very minimum. It is not demanding. And therefore, in presence of a pet, I feel very secure, very safe, very accepted, very loved. A pet has a capacity to make me feel loved, which perhaps a spouse may not have. My child may not be able to. Once child also is like pet. As long as children are infant, they are like pets. They are non-demanding. And the mother feels extremely happy with an infant. Because an infant also is able to give unconditional love. Even though an infant doesn't say anything, doesn't talk anything, simply by being there and by showing the joy on its face, it gives so much great fulfillment to you. That's why it's a great joy to have children, because you can enjoy them and they are able to love you without condition. Until they become terrible too, and until they start becoming conscious of themselves and their own needs, and then they have their own demands, and then in course of time they start talking back, and when the teenage comes, then it is very, very difficult to relate. then we are not as comfortable. With our own child, we are very comfortable. The child was infant, non-demanding, and being able to love us unconditionally. How comfortable we were? With a pet, we are comfortable because it loves me unconditionally. Even this man, an old man, was known as a very angry person, very demanding person. Nobody could relate to this person. Even his wife had a hard time relating to this person. Always ready to blow up. Really speaking, the poor fellow always felt unloved, Sometimes people they are enjoying very high positions in their business, etc., or in their career. But inside there is a tremendous lack of not being loved, not being accepted. So this person is angry, not because of any reason, because he feels that world does not accept him, world does not love him. He has never felt loved or accepted. And a grandchild is born. With grandchild, the equation is what? That parents are young, they are too busy to take care of the child, while the grandparent is all the time and all the luxury to fondle them and to spoil them. Therefore, a grandparent, a grandfather, and a grandchild has a magic of invoking from this angry person a loving person. Even that person who never felt comfortable with anybody else feels so comfortable with his grandchild. And grandchild says, Dada, Grandpa, come on, become my horse. Grandpa becomes a horse. That fellow is riding. Dada no me ghodo ki do. So this Dada means grandfather, becomes a horse and the child rides on that. And the grandfather is so happy, is melted. The infant has the magic of melting this person who otherwise never felt comfortable with anybody. What I am saying is how we are able to relate very well, comfortably, when the person with whom we are relating is a non-demanding person. When there are demands upon us, we are not comfortable. When there are expectations, we are not comfortable. And unfortunately, each one of us has demands and expectations. Although we love people, we do things for them, but behind that there is an expectation that they should return the favor. Sometimes you listen to a mother also, Swamiji, I have raised this child for 25 years, what has he done for me? Sometimes parents complain, what has this child done for me? Nothing. Very self-centered. That means that while we were raising them, there was an expectation that when they grow up, they should do this and that for me, they should do something for me, and when that expectation is not fulfilled, then we are disappointed. Watch out. In every interaction, there is an expectation. What is the expectation? That the other person should please me. This is the basic expectation. Since I am not able to please myself, basically my requirement is to be a pleased self. But I do not know how to please myself. That's the problem. I am in fact critical of myself. I am displeasing myself. I always find myself imperfect. I always find myself inadequate. I find myself inadequate being, lacking being, wanting being. I want to see myself a perfect person while I find myself imperfect. So in my own perception, I am an inadequate being, a lacking, wanting being. And I am not happy with an inadequate being or lacking or wanting being. I am not happy, so I am not happy with myself. I am not happy with the inadequate self that I find myself to be. So I require you to make me feel good about myself. Swamiji, your talk yesterday was wonderful. I don't think that my talk is wonderful. But when you tell me, then I think it must be so. Meaning that how there is a strong need of being approved, strong need of being accepted. Since I do not accept myself, therefore I have a strong need of being accepted by you. Since I do not approve of myself, I have a strong need of being approved by you, and particularly by those people who are significant in my life. Everybody has a few significant people in their life. Usually, parents are significant people in your life. Therefore, a child is always looking for approval from the parents. Now, there are so many children here, so I should not say that. But anyway, sometimes the parents are critical. Sometimes parents are demanding. And a child can never please the father. I scored 85% marks. I was number one, rank 1 in my class. I came home happily. I showed my report card to my father. Oh, 85%. You know your brother, when he was in your grade, he scored 90%. It's gone. I'm seeking. The father is a significant person in my life. Mother is a significant person. The teacher is a significant person. Some uncle may be a significant person. My guru is a significant person. Now, everybody are different kind of people, but then everybody has some people who are significant, whose approval is extremely important for them. When that approval comes, the child feels accepted, child feels being loved, and therefore it is so important that what does love? When you say that you love some person, somebody, I love him all the time, I criticize him all the time. No, what kind of love is that? I love him but I slap him sometimes. I'm not saying that love means no criticism or no, I'm not saying that, but basically love means accepting the person as the person is. And as we said right in the beginning, every person is a combination of virtues and limitations. Nobody is perfect. Everybody, at the level of body, nobody can be perfect. At the level of mind, nobody can be perfect. At the level of intellect, nobody can be perfect. Even Einstein would not have felt perfect, that he was totally satisfied with himself. Even though in intellect we have lots of knowledge, lots of things we may have, still it is never adequate. I am not omniscient, I am not all-knowing, I am little knowing. God has granted me the power to know, and I have an intellect with which I know, but then it's a limited knowledge. Swamiji says, how much of our knowledge is? Just one more question. Well, take the case, he gives the example of a flower. They said, don't worry, that's all right, the flowers are here. So, you ask a question. Very good, thank you. Just one, that's fine. Thanks. What is this? A flower? What is it called? No, that's the question here. Is it a carnation? Yes. Carnation. Oh, wow. See, I'm a knowledgeable person. What is its color? Red. I'm a knowledgeable person. How many petals does it have? 15. I'm a knowledgeable person. But why 15 petals? I don't know. Why red color? I don't know. Why this carnation only this size? Why is it not bigger than what it is? I don't know. Why not smaller than what it is? I don't know. One more question. Up to 3 questions or 4 questions I can answer. One more question, the limitation of my knowledge become very evident. As it is said correctly, that more I know, more I discover what I do not know. And that is true. There is nothing right or wrong. That is how it is. Meaning that even though I am a knowledgeable person, our Swami says, spell the word knowledgeable. Let us see how knowledgeable you are. I'm omniscient, spell the word omniscient, and the spelling bees, that is where we will fail, perhaps the children will win. So I'm a knowledgeable person, but my knowledge is limited. I'm an emotional person, I'm a loving person, but it is still limited. I have strength in my body, but still limited. So I have the power, I can perform a lot of activities, but still limited. So I have the Jnana Shakti, power to know, Kriya Shakti, power to act, Ichha Shakti, power to will. These powers we have. But the powers are limited. That's how the creation is. And I find myself therefore limited in knowledge, limited in power, limited in my abilities. Swamiji, do you have an iPad? Yes. I can switch on the iPad and I can show. One more question. What is that thing? There are 36 things on that iPad, I hardly use one or two of them, that's all. And there are so many things. I don't know what they are for and what they do. Limited knowledge. That being the case, I do not look upon myself, I do not have a very high opinion about myself. The idea is that on account of the limitations at every level, and my expectation being that I should not have any limitation, when I find myself a limited person, I find myself inadequate being, I am dissatisfied with myself. So I am always seeking satisfaction. And therefore, my basic need is that you should satisfy me, you should please me. Thus, in every relationship, my expectation from the other person with whom I am related is what? That they should please me. Now the definition of what is meant by please me will be different with different people at different times. Sometimes you please me simply by bringing a glass of water. That is enough to please me. Sometimes you may give me food, that may please me. Sometimes a kind word, sometimes a smile. It may not be a big deal that I want. Sometimes I want big things also, sometimes I want just little things. But basically, my requirement is that you should please me. This is how we should understand who we are and who is the person who is relating to others. An inadequate, lacking, wanting being who does not have a very high opinion of himself, who is not highly satisfied with himself, who doesn't have a high self-esteem, this complex person is relating to other complex person also, understand. The thing is that other person has the same expectation from me. And very often these expectations clash, and that is when the relationship becomes a difficult relationship. So what is ideal relationship? When is there total freedom in relationship? When there is no expectation at all. When both the persons who are related to each other are free from all expectations. That's not possible. When can that be? When we become perfected beings. In Bhagavad Gita there is Sthita Prajna, a man of abiding wisdom. When we grow to that point, we will become free from expectation, no doubt. And that is our goal. What's one good measure of measuring my growth, self-growth, is to what extent I have become less demanding. To what extent my expectations were gone down. Who is a wise person? Prajahari yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Lord Krishna says that a wise person is a person who is totally free from all demands and all expectations. How is it so? Because Atmaneva Atmana Tushta, because he is completely satisfied with himself, by himself, and therefore he has no demands. The only demand is satisfaction. And that my demand for satisfaction comes in the various forms of asking you to sit in a certain way, talk in a certain way, behave in a certain way, do this, don't do this. behind all this demand is one simple demand, please me. I'm a beggar really, but I'm making demand from other people, I'm a beggar. And beggar is not a chooser. Meaning that whether I will be happy or not is decided by you and not by me. If you oblige me by fulfilling my expectation, then I'm happy. If you choose not to oblige me, then I'm not happy. And sometimes you may want to oblige me, but you are not able to do that. Swamiji, what do you want? I don't know what to do for you. Last year when you came, then you like this fruit and that fruit and this fruit, and this time when they gave me, I don't like. You know, things change. Last year you like this thing, then this year it's something else. So we don't know how to please a person. Sometimes people want to please a Swami. But Swami is eccentric, and therefore his demands keep on changing. And so people don't know how to do that. But basic demand is that you should please me. And that demand manifests itself in form of variety of expectations. So expectation, behind all expectations of what the other person should do and what should not. Ultimately expectation means what you should do, what you should not do. How you should smile, how you should not. If you smile at me, if the correct smile is there, then I think that you are okay. If the smile is too broad, I think that you are making fun of me. If you don't smile, then I think you don't like me. If you smile too broadly, then I think you are making fun of me. See, we are so sensitive. So, we cannot be non-expecting. So what should we do? All right, let us say that we accept right now that we have expectations from other person. We should also know that it is not possible for anybody in the world to fulfill all my expectations. It's not possible. Even God is trying since a long time to fulfill my expectation. So many desires I come up with, He keeps on fulfilling my desires, but I keep on coming with new desires anyway. So even God does not know how to please this person. Then how can the world please me? And therefore, first thing that I should understand is that even though I have expectation, I should be ready for my expectation not to be fulfilled. I have expectation is all right, but then I should recognize that it is not always possible for others to fulfill my expectation, and therefore I should be ready for a situation when my expectation is not fulfilled. Lord Krishna says, Siddhya Siddhyo Samabhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. May you have sameness of your mind with reference to success and failure. What is success? My expectation is fulfilled, I call it success. My expectation is not fulfilled, I call it failure. Lord Krishna says, be even-minded in success and failure, meaning that you have the freedom to have your expectation, let us say, but give the other person the freedom not to fulfill your expectation. When you enjoy the freedom to have your expectation, give other person the freedom not to be able to fulfill your expectation, and let me not reject somebody just because my expectation is not fulfilled. Today, what is my demand, that I accept you only if you fulfill my expectation, otherwise I reject you. The problem with us is that we are so identified with our own expectation that when somebody does not fulfill my expectation, when my expectation is rejected, I feel rejected. I just had a simple expectation that you bring a glass of water. You did not understand me, or you are doing something else and you could not do that, and you did not do a simple thing for me. I feel rejected by you. And then what do? I retaliate by rejecting you. So my anger is nothing but my retaliation to you, to reject you, to intimidate you. So number one, that whereas I have the freedom to have expectation from the other person, let me give the other person the freedom not to fulfill my expectation. Meaning that my acceptance of other person will not depend upon whether the person fulfill my expectation or not, meaning that my willingness to accept the other person even when they do not fulfill my expectation. And that comes from a sympathetic attitude. I should know that nobody is perfect. I should know that nobody is almighty, that everybody doesn't have all the power to do things. And therefore, people may not have the wherewithal of fulfilling my expectation. They may not have capacity to fulfill my expectation. Or they may not be in mood. Sometimes people have capacity, but they are not in mood always to do what I want them to do. I should respect other people. I should accept them, respect them with their limitations. Give them the freedom with what they are. Right now, the person is not in a mood to fulfill an expectation. Okay, I still accept the person. Normally, what do? When you do not fulfill an expectation, I feel rejected, I reject you in turn. So here comes the two-step approach of our Swamiji. Our Swami talks about a two-step approach. What is one-step approach? You do not fulfill my expectation, I feel rejected, I reject you. Immediately I make faces, or I show my anger, I show my disappointment in my behavior or in my body language. That retaliation is one-step approach. A one-step response rather. Two-step response. Let me step back and think, why did this person not fulfill my expectation? Why did this person not do what I wanted them to do? Maybe there was some difficulty. See, sometimes people ask us, Swamiji, I have an employee, but that person is not regular, is not attentive, doesn't fulfill his duties, doesn't do his job properly. What should I do? Am I justified in firing that person? I said, you are justified, but before you fire that person, understand that person. Why is this person not able to do his job properly? Is there some problem there? Maybe he has some family difficulties, he has some other emotional problems. So people have all kinds of difficulties within themselves, which may come from different sources, and that is what may inhibit. Maybe it's not that he doesn't want to perform well, but he's not able to perform well. It is not that other person does not want to fulfill my expectation, they are unable to do that, you see, because of their own difficulties. Even when somebody says, why should I do it for you? There also is a difficulty. Because basically a person is a giving person. All of us are very giving persons. When that givingness does not come, that means there is some obstacle within me, and why should I give? That means I am angry, or I am frustrated, I feel rejected. There is some problem with me. It is because of my problem that I am not able to become a giving person. I expect the other person to be a giving person, but other person may not all the time be ready for that or capable of doing that. So we should be sympathetic towards the limitations of other people. Not demanding. The first step, one-step response is demanding that my expectation be fulfilled. The two-step response is what? Being sympathetic to the limitation of the other person. That maybe there is some problem. Be sympathetic. And rather than demanding that your expectation is fulfilled, try to help the other person. What we normally want is this, they should change. We want that the whole world should change for my sake. When I am driving my vehicle on the road, I expect that all the traffic lights should be green lights. That when I am driving at 80 miles an hour, my expectation is there should be no traffic patrolman around. Meaning that this is my basic expectation, that the whole world should please me. But the world has its own agenda. Other person to I am relating has his own agenda or her own agenda. Just as I have my agenda of being pleased, that person has agenda of being pleased, just I have an expectation from them, they expectation from me. So, both the person, what is maturity? Maturity is whereas we have the freedom to have the expectation, the maturity is to give the other person the freedom to have their expectations. And freedom to not fulfill my expectation. What is meant by freedom? I do not reject them. I continue to accept them. That requires sympathy. That requires compassion. So, in order for me to have this attitude of accepting the other person, even when the person does not fulfill my expectation, is to have a sympathy for the other person, a compassion for the other person. So this will invoke the compassion itself. You follow what I am saying? How relationship can become the occasion of invoking the best from me. Thus every interaction can become an occasion of invoking that compassionate person from me. If other person fulfill my expectation, wonderful. Thank God. Don't become proud. Be humble. Humility is another important thing that is required in our life. When things are going our way, don't think that we should not take the credit, but should know that it is because of grace of God, and therefore, in all humility, enjoy it. When things go your way, enjoy them, no doubt, with humility. Humility when things are going good, and compassion when they are not going good. So this compassion or forgiveness is the accommodation, accepting the other person as the person is, with his or her virtues and limitations. You get the whole package. If this was the rose, it would come with thorns. I cannot demand that a rose should come without the, I want rose, but I don't want thorns. It cannot be. Similarly, when I relate to a person, I relate to the whole person. I cannot demand that only I relate to a part of the person. No, the whole baggage comes along with it. And we have to be sympathetic to that baggage, emotional baggage they call it. Everybody comes with their emotional baggage. What is emotional baggage? Their own disappointments, their own frustrations, their own sadness, their own complexes, their own needs, their own demands. This is natural. Just as we have, others also have that. So two persons relating to each other, if they have maturity, then they accept gracefully this fact of life that both the persons are limited, both the persons are needy, and therefore both the persons are in need of acceptance, and therefore let us accept each other as we are. So freedom in relationship is freedom from expectation in relationship. But as long as we have expectation, then what is freedom? Freedom in being ready for the condition when my expectation is not fulfilled. So I have expectation, okay, but I give all the benefit of doubt to the other person. The other person could not fulfill my expectation for their reasons, whatever those reasons are. But why is Swami behave like that? Why is a person like this? Well, that is how the person is. That's how they know how to behave. But if we are compassionate, really, if you want to change a person, compassion is a very strong tool to change the person. There are many examples of great people who change or transform other person just by being compassionate. I may have told you this story of one saint in Maharashtra, Saint Eknath. Every morning he would go to the Godavari river to take a dip in the river. This was his routine. And he was purified by taking bath in the river. He is returning home every day. Everybody knew him as a great saint, but there was one person who hated him for whatever reason and disliked him. He wanted to somehow make him angry, wanted to punish him. So Eknath was passing by a street, and this person's home was in the same street. He would stand in his balcony. One morning what he did is, he stood in the balcony. He filled his mouth with foul water, and as Eknath passed underneath, he spitted all that water on him. Now this is pollution. So Eknath said, hey, I am polluted, I must clean myself again. He went back to the river and again took another dip and came back. Again this person did it. Again he went back without any protest. No, it is not possible for us to do, but I am just giving an example of a great saint. No reaction. All sympathy. Must have how much amount of accommodation, how much of compassion that a person is actually hurting you. And still, no retaliation at all. He goes back to the river, takes bath, comes back again, then again and again and again, until this fellow got exhausted. And he could not do any more. Until then the saint went back every time, took the bath and returned, and this person ultimately gave up. He fell in the feet of the saint. I am extremely sorry for what I have done. This compassion of the saint transformed that person. What I am saying is that compassion has a great transforming power. And if you want that other person should change, rather than demanding that they should change, you change. How do you change? You become a compassionate person. And that will motivate the other person to change. When somebody finds that you are accepting him or her regardless of how they behave, suppose they find that, you think that he is also a human being? Our Swamiji says that empathy is there in everybody. So by your sympathy, you invoke the empathy from that person. And person recognizes that here is somebody who really cares for me. Regardless of how I am still accepted. Regardless of how I am, they still care for me. And that is enough to invoke that sympathy from that person. That's how Saint Eknath he did not want to transform, by the way. It just happened. He had no agenda of transforming that person. He had only agenda of doing what is right to do. His value is not to retaliate, not to be angry. His value is described in Bhagavad Gita, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, one who does not hate anybody. Does not hate a person who hates him, even him also does not hate. That was his value. But by following his value, by the way, other person got transformed. He says, I am extremely sorry for what I have done. Then the saint says to him, I am very thankful to you this morning. See, every morning I take only one bath, but it was because of you that today I took so many baths and I got purified so many times. Thank you. But we are all like that. That being compassionate is not the only prerogative of a saint. We are all saints in our true nature. It's a matter of invoking that sympathy, invoking that compassion, that goodness, kindness, accommodation, large-heartedness from us, and a relationship which consists of interactions. Every interaction can become an occasion of invoking that from me. But Swami, if the other person keeps on doing it, what should I do? Do what best you can do. See what is your tolerance limit. Tolerate as long as you can. Cutting off the relationship or creating distance is the final choice. I am not saying that we have not yet grown to that level that we can relate to anybody. I am not saying that you should be able to relate to anybody and everybody, because we are limited beings. Not that we are not capable, but that capability has not yet been invoked. So we may recognize our own limitation also, how much we can suffer, how much we can put up with the pain, how much we can tolerate. So depending upon threshold of tolerance, we accept the person. When it becomes very difficult or impossible, then we can say, all right, I'm sorry that I cannot relate to you anymore. That choice is there, but that should be the last choice. Because as you said, every relationship is very valuable, and discarding a relationship should be the last choice, not the first choice. Usually we have the first choice. My way or highway, that's what they say. So when very often married couples come to the Swami seeking blessings, then along with blessings I give them a lecture also. I said, look, the two of you are married. Understand that two of you are two independent people, having your own likes and dislikes, your own idiosyncrasies, your own emotional baggage. And therefore, the two of you, it will not happen that there is synchronism between you under all conditions. There may not be. You may not be able to fulfill each other's expectation all the time. But one thing I tell them, understand that your relationship is more important than you. You means your ego. Your relationship is more important than you. Meaning that when it comes to a choice between choosing relationship and your ego, choose relationship and let go of your ego. What is ego? Ego is my demands, my expectations, that's ego. So when your demands and expectations come in the way of your relationship, be ready to let go of your expectations and demands. If both of you do that, you will create heaven. You do not require more than two persons with healthy relationships to be happy. That's all you need. You can create heaven and you can create hell also. Somebody asked this question, is marriage a word or a sentence? Is marriage a word or a sentence? Well, if you live properly, it's a word. If you don't live properly, it's a life sentence. And so, any relationship is like that. But marriage, because you're stuck with each other. That way, it's the most demanding relationship. It's the most fulfilling relationship also. When two persons are married to each other, it's the most demanding relationship because you are stuck to each other. You can't create a distance. And you have to live with each other. And with each, as you are. That's the most challenging thing. But that's the challenge that can help you to grow the most. Most demanding, most challenging. Closer the relationship is, more challenging it is. Closer the relationship is, more painful it can be. Relationship can be a source of great joy as well as a great sorrow. And if my expectation, demand is that I will be happy only when my expectation is fulfilled, it is going to be very difficult. I am happy because I am related to this person. That's all. I look upon that as Ishvara's, as God's grace that this person came into my life. Anyway, that person. It may be a neighbor, it may be whoever it is, let alone the spouse. That I have the privilege of relating to this person, interacting with this person is a great gift, and that is a very valuable thing. You can use every relation, every interaction as an occasion of deriving, of, as we said last night, become a giver. So, a relationship is an excellent setup for becoming a contributor rather than becoming a consumer. So I told you last night that our Swamiji says whenever any person comes before him, the first thought in his mind is, how can I make this person happy? So some couple asked our Swamiji, what is the duty of husband and wife? Swami said, duty of husband is to make wife happy and duty of wife is to make husband happy. When can you make somebody happy? When you fulfill their expectations. Meaning that wife should do the best she can to fulfill the expectation of husband, and in return husband should do the best he can to fulfill the expectation of his wife, or any two persons for that matter. Not easy, not at all easy. But be sympathetic to other person when they are not able to fulfill expectation. Be sympathetic, be accommodative, be compassionate, be kind, that this person has some limitations, therefore they cannot fulfill my expectation. Let me be kind and let me accept the person in spite of that. So self-acceptance, self-respect, being kind to each other, lowering the expectation. Lower the expectations as much as possible. Accept the other person as much as possible, with their virtues and limitations, as much as you can expect. But I realize that we are not perfect, so some expectations are going to be there. Then be ready that my expectation may not be fulfilled. At least give the other person the freedom not to be able to fulfill my expectation. Give that freedom. Meaning that do not let your relationship hang on expectation. Let expectations hang on the relationship. Meaning do not discard relationship because of expectation, discard expectation for the purpose of relationship. The extent to that we can do, we grow. Because expectations are binding us. What's the bondage? More expectations I have, more bound I am. Because when I have expectation from you, then it is you who decides whether I am happy or not. If I don't have expectation, I decide whether I am happy or not. So growth in life is growing in reduced expectations. So less the expectations, more mature you are, more accommodating you are, more accepting you are. And therefore, let relationships stay and let expectations go. Do this as much as you can, as much as your tolerance limit is, as much as your threshold of tolerance is, do that. And no question that you will be a happy person. What do you need for being happy? Nothing else. Whether rasgullas are there or movies are there, they are all secondary things. Right now they become primary things only because we are not comfortable within ourselves. But when we are comfortable within ourselves, everything else becomes secondary. It's a luxury. In our Swami, or words of our Swamiji, everything becomes a luxury. When you are happy with yourself, everything becomes a luxury. When I am not happy with myself, all luxuries become necessities. When I am happy with myself, necessities become luxuries. So that is the mark of self-growth. To what extent I become free from expectations, to what extent my necessities are reduced, to what expectation life has become a luxury. And thus the relationship can help us grow in this manner. That is freedom in relationship. The extent to which the relationship is free from expectation, to that extent there is freedom in relationship. And a relationship can help us let go of our expectations, help us grow in our inner freedom. Because what is bondage? Bondage is our expectation are binding us. So we become free, become more free to give, become more free to accommodate, become more compassionate, become a happier person. Thus, relationship can become the occasion of growing into a happier and more fulfilled person. Okay, with that I conclude.
Thank you, Swamiji.